It always comes to this. More nice shit. Well there guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I believe I showed off the color and the top part of my arm. That's all healed now. So yeah, one pass. That yellow and bluey green did really well. I guess it's kind of a teal. It did, like, it went in better than we expected, and it healed way better than we expected. I don't know if it's because my arm was like super well healed when we did it versus when we were working on the chest. It took a bit more work. All the colors were pretty dark at first, but whatever the case, it was a very optimal result. Very pleasant surprise for both Rick and I. We were both, I think especially Rick wasn't expecting it to be as bright, and not just bright, because it's not just the brightness, it's also the concentration of it. It doesn't really look like we would even need a second pass in the teal color. We would probably do a second pass in the yellow, but some of that is still sloughing off. The yellow, he put in a little differently, he packed it a little more, and so it's gonna take a little bit longer for us to know exactly with that one. But for what we're looking at here, you know, that shouldn't be that bright. Realistically, that's as bright as it would be on untattooed skin, maybe even brighter. Here you can see a good stretch of the yellow in question on its own. So, and that actually over here did really well. That's all healed, but the stuff in here is still a little bit, it's still healing. The major peel has already happened, but there's still room to go there. Anyway, yeah, I think this is going to change some things for some people, because like when I started doing all the red, like I got all the comments like, oh, now I got to do red on black. I got to find someone who can do red on black. It's like, we're not learning here. The lesson wasn't, oh, look, red can cover black. It was, oh, anything can cover black. And I think that like all the different colors that we did in the chest piece, and we have every color in this chest piece, and they're all holding. I think because they're all smaller stretches, they don't showcase so much on their own. Like I said a number of times, that all of the colors that Rick and I did in this chest piece are more solid than the red, like especially here. Now this is on par with them, but they're all individually as solid or more solid than the red. It's just that since it's such a small grouping of each color, you don't really see it so much. So I'll still get people who are like, I wonder what green or blue or yellow would look like over red or over black. And it's like, well, you don't really have to wonder, because I've already showed you. Like, I've showed you all of those. We used, I think, 66 different colors on my chest, and they all worked to one degree or another. Some you can even see here. Some of those colors worked better than others. Some of the colors in particular that worked well were yellow, green, and red, but they all worked. They all worked. Every single one worked to some degree. So it's not like, oh, well, look at all the red he has, that means red on black. No, it means that's the color I wanted. And I could similarly have done all this packing with yellow instead. Like that could all be yellow, and it would be the same effect. It would, because it would be a lot of it. And so then people would be, oh, I gotta get yellow on black. Like, holy shit. I think a lot of people have been used to just hearing about white on black. And in fairness, white on black does work to a degree, but it works the least well of everything I've tried. And that's just an honest accounting. Like, white on black on its own, especially like a first pass, it kind of sucks. Like, I've heard some people are like, oh no, you gotta try this color, you gotta try this white or that white. No, they, like, realistically, you can have your brand preference, but like white on its own isn't great. It can be great if you support it with other things. Like this looks pretty great, but that's a lot of black in there. Like there's a lot of black boosting the white in all of my tattoos. And I mean new black. So like some people will get me confused, but I mean when you do this tattoo, a lot of the new black is what's making the white bright. It's not, you can't get this with just white. If you just use white, you won't get that tattoo. Same as any of my stuff. So you got to have, when you do the tattoo, like some kind of a spread where the lining and some of the shading is done with new black, and the rest of the shading is done with white. Or you can counter that. You can invert it. You could line with white potentially and then fill with black too. That's not the way that we've approached it. I'm positive that that would work as well, though. I just seen a guy the other day who credited me. I'm getting more and more mentions in cool projects, like really cool stuff. I'll see if I could find the thing. I might not be able to now. I get a lot of mentions, but I'll look back. Anyway, the guy, he whited out a guy's tattoo, and then they built a new tattoo over top of it, which is something that I've talked about quite a bit on this channel, that you could do that. We're doing that at the shop now instead of laser. Terry's whiting out one of his own tattoos he did on a guy when he was younger. Now he wants a bigger version of that tattoo. He had a little tiny like tribal shark on his arm. Terry told him over and over again it was a bad idea to do that there. And then later the guy wants 2 sleeves. So they're putting a bigger version of that same shark basically, but not tribal, on that arm over top of a whited out black tattoo. And that black was packed. And you almost can't tell what it is anymore. So anyway, I got tagged in a white on black project, black on black, whatever you want to call it. It's more black on black, honestly, now that it's, or black on white, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But there's more black in the body of this thing than there is white. It was pretty cool. I'm always happy to see those. Another thing to mention is I did have another session, as I said. This time it was just black on black. So again, this is what I always say when I say my tattoos have more black in them than they do white. This will eventually get white as well. But as you can see, we're laying the groundwork for all of that with black. Rick has one-upped himself in his complexity with this sleeve. He started doing a thing where, since we used black gold, and the black gold showed up and stayed visible throughout the months. Because as anyone knows, the sleeve has, or anyone who's watched this channel knows, the sleeve had a slow start. All the old black gold stuff was still there. So we figured that we can use black gold in this tattoo as well. And so in areas he has XXX Panthera. Some areas he has Gloom Panthera, and some areas he's got black gold Panthera, and in effect to create varying degrees of black on black shading. This is before we get to the white and color, really. So, for example, you can see in the shading that we have our darkest blacks working back into the lighter blacks, and those will fade, but they'll stay. You can see how that's happened. Let's find an area that's healed. You can see the shadow of how we have the darkest black here, which is healed, and then it fades back into a lighter black. Tonally is different than the dynamics still, because Panthera has its own tone of black. And so even before we get to the white on black, this sleeve is standing out quite a bit because of all the contrast play that we have. Now, once we get the white in there, people are going to be crediting the white for everything. They're not going to see that we did probably 15 sessions of just black. They're just going to see the white in there, and they're going to go, that's a white on black tattoo. I'm learning to let it go a little bit, because I get that people don't understand the intricacies of this work, because a lot of people have never tried it. But it really is best to just say multi-layer, or if you're going to say anything at all in regards to it, these projects really are more black on black if you want to do like a concrete, clear tattoo that can be seen from a long ways away. There's got to be a lot more black in the mix. Anyway, I'm seeing more and more people that are listening and doing that, and they're having better results. It's not like I need to be right. It's like, and I have a friend that watches the channel all the time, or quite often anyway, and he's been doing some of that. He did a graffiti piece on his partner, I believe, and he did the method that I've talked about: black border, white letters, and it healed great. And then he did another one recently on a guy. He's got a full black arm. It's blacked everything else, and then did white in the letter, or the face of it. It's kind of hard to describe. I'll see if I can find some photos of that as well. Again, worked out. Like, it's not magic, and it's not really overly complicated once you understand contrast and how ink sits in the skin together. So, like, when you draw a black line over black, it is going to be there. I still have people on my TikTok, when I showed this off, that are like, oh, well, won't black on black just fade into itself? It's like, no. I mean, if it would, none of what I'm doing would be here anymore. None of this stuff would be standing anymore. Like, I was open to that reality too at the beginning. And people will go back and watch my first reaction to white on black tattoos, and it's very much like doubtful. But doing the layups and the groundwork and kind of going through all of these things myself, with an open mind, I'm able to change my mind. And the problem is, a lot of tattoo artists have made up their mind before they've even tried. If any of this stuff wasn't true, none of these tattoos would be staying and aging well, right? Like, none of this stuff would be working out if any of that stuff was true. So there should be a point when they have to walk that back. But it is nice to see more and more tattooers doing these things. Like, as I said before, some of them are crediting me and some of them aren't. I know that it's because of the work I'm doing. It doesn't really matter if they admit that or not. I just want people to be able to get the tattoos they want, instead of being shoehorned down the laser road for 16 sessions in a row, 6 weeks apart. I don't think that any of that is necessary. You can do any tattoo you want. As I said, Buddy did a script tattoo on his friend. The tattoo earlier I mentioned that got whited out, they did a lion over top of that. It looked like a black and gray lion. It doesn't have to be weird cosmic horror stuff or just roses like I'm doing. You can do it for any style. So I just want to see people getting more cool work, and I want to see less ignorance and denial. It's not so important that it's because of me, even though I know the work I've done has laid the groundwork for a lot of this change that I'm seeing, because I've been so ardent about it and screaming about it so much that, you make a lot of noise on a topic. Eventually some people are going to start to listen, and they're going to start to see it, and they're going to see it healing, and they can't refute it anymore. Because before me, people would show off these projects to get a fuck ton of likes, shares, and whatever else, and then you'd never see them again. Whereas I'm living and breathing, and I'm in your face, and I'm even annoying about it. I am annoyingly incessant about it on all of my social medias. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are my tattoos, so it's getting harder and harder to refute that. And so then we're seeing more artists do that. So it's been a very positive thing for the industry, and I'm happy as fuck to see more artists swinging out of their comfort zones and actually giving a shit and waking up maybe for the first. And you know what? This is going to upgrade everyone's game, especially since I really do think that multi-layer in the future is going to be the way. I don't know what's going to happen to the laser industry. It's either going to need to rapidly improve or it will go away, because the chances of a laser actually removing a tattoo are very, very slim. They usually will just lighten to a point where you can be okay with them. But if you've got any scar tissue underneath that, you really don't want that being seen. A lot of times you'll still see the tattoo. So unless you're covering it anyway, I don't really see much use for laser. And with the work that I'm doing and some other folks have started doing, I don't think there's going to be much argument for it soon either, because you can do any color you want. You can do any style you want. And most people don't have a full blackout body. So it's not like they're going to need to cover that much. They're just covering a lot of the times, like that woman that came in here with that tribal banana on her neck. They're just covering stuff like that. They're not looking to laser off a whole bodysuit more often than not. If you get that far into tattoos, you're not changing your mind now. So it's usually the small bangers that are getting covered up anyway. And in such a case, I don't think you need to do 2 years of laser. I think a tattoo artist worth his salt can just do a new tattoo over top. As I've shown off already, we had a year tattoo artist at the shop who did exactly that, who is, and no offense to her, but nothing special. She's just a tattoo artist learning her way, and she wasn't ignorant. She listened, she watched, she observed results, and then she applied. You know, that's all it is. It's the same thing as anything else. So anyway, I'll show this tattoo off again. It's coming together really well now. You can see it when I put the stretch out. We're going to have another session. We're going to be on the inside of the bicep. We'll probably do half or maybe a little more than half of this. And then the next week down there. And then after that, we probably come back up here, do the shading up here. I'm sure there'll be bits of color and white sprinkled in. I have an idea of what the next 4 sessions look like on it. And then it's into white first pass and all the color and all that good stuff. So we're making steady progress now. I could see in a few months this sleeve will be mostly filled in, at least for the first pass. So lots to look forward to there. I've got another session coming up with Terry here in a couple days. I'm going to keep that one secret. It's going to be a bit of a change. Hoping that I don't regret it immediately. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.